A Step into the Past Volume 21 Chapter 10. Book 21 Chapter 10, A Shattered Dream. Following Su Ran, Xiang Xiaolong stepped into the cabins and came to a door. Su Ran stopped in his tracks and pushed the door inwards. He gestured, "Master Zhang is inside, you can go in on your own." Surprisingly, there was no ambush along the corridors. Instead, melodious music can be heard from the upper decks. This is a brilliant situation to trap Xiang Xiaolong. Even if he shouted for help, no one can hear him. Xiang Xiaolong grinned and viciously used his own shoulder to smash into Su Ran's shoulder. Caught unaware, Su Ran called out in shock and stumbled into the cabin. A black cloth bag swiftly clamped down and enveloped Su Ran's head and face. The bag was secured and Su Ran was dragged deeper into the cabin. Gu Ming, Fu Yan, a few other drivers, Wu Sun, and a few family warriors pounced upon Su Ran, raining merciless, heavy blows on him. Xiang Xiaolong slipped into the cabin and closed the door behind him. Su Ran is already pitifully writhing on the floor like a freshly cooked shrimp. These men may be overly excited to carry out their task and did not notice that they were beating the wrong person. Xiang Xiaolong and Su Ran are dressed very differently and have different body builds as well. Gu Ming was the first to notice that the man standing at the cabin door is Xiang Xiaolong and not Su Ran. Flabbergasted, he pointed dumbly at Xiang Xiaolong, but no words can come out from his mouth. By now, everyone realized they have laid their hands on the wrong person. Xiang Xiaolong shook his head slowly and sighed, "Do you know what your mistake is?" Xiang Xiaolong dashed forward and came to the side of the short strongman, Wu Sun, in a flash. Using his momentum, he kneeled Wu Sun in his nether regions. Back in the 21st century, Xiang Xiaolong is an expert when it comes to bar fights. He totally understood the principle: to capture a man, shoot his horse; to nab the thieves, capture the bandit king. Wu Sun is a strong, well-built, and courageous man. Otherwise, he would not possess the strength to push Xiang Xiaolong down the gangplank. Therefore, Xiang Xiaolong chose to attack him first and attacked his most vulnerable spot as well. His speed is too incredible and Wu Sun did not have the slightest chance to defend himself. The next moment, Xiang Xiaolong has already slipped in between the two family warriors. Using his two elbows, he struck both men heavily at the side of the rib cages. These close combat techniques are most applicable while fighting in tight and narrow spaces. It is hard for the opponents to predict his moves and he can easily use the opponent's bodies to shield himself. Both family warriors cried out in pain and collapsed. By now, Xiang Xiaolong has leapt to the front of Fu Yan. Avoiding a punch to his face, he grabbed Fu Yan's neck with both hands and kneeled him twice below his abdomen. With another flying kick, he sent another driver soaring through the air. T.A.G. The driver hit the ship's wall. From the upper decks, the music became more lively and high-pitched, as if it is cheering Xiang Xiaolong. Out of a sudden, someone grabbed Xiang Xiaolong from behind. Releasing Fu Yan and letting him kneel down to the ground, Xiang Xiaolong used judo and flipped the man behind him over his own head, aiming to slam him in the direction of the cabin window. Bang! The man's spine hit the cabin window frame and the man rolled to the corner of the ship's wall. Gu Ming and the other two drivers advanced towards Xiang Xiaolong. Using hand-grabbing techniques, Xiang Xiaolong had a grip on one of the driver's wrist and kicked him twice in his abdomen. The driver bent over in pain. Tugging the driver with his enormous strength, he managed to cause the stumbling man to crash head-on with the other driver. Both drivers collapsed into a tangled heap. Gu Ming is now facing Xiang Xiaolong alone. The two family warriors had managed to get on their feet but were still in a daze. Gu Ming is mad with fury and anger is glimmering in his eyes. He drew out a dagger from his bosom and launched a piercing attack towards Xiang Xiaolong's chest. Xiang Xiaolong faked a movement and avoided the thrust. Using his hand in a chopping attack, he ruthlessly strikes down on his wrist. Gu Ming's dagger fell to the ground and he stumbled forward. Xiang Xiaolong delivered a crushing punch to his back as he fell. This overbearing driver landed flat on his face and is a pathetic sight to behold. Zhang! Zhang! The two family warriors have regained their composure and their aggressive spirits have been ignited. Both drew out their swords. Bloodwave left its sheath as well and turned into a sword storm. Never in their wildest imagination did they expect Xiang Xiaolong to be a godly swordsman. Among cries of panic, their long swords have long left their grasps and their wrists are bleeding. Xiang Xiaolong sheathed his sword and pressed forward, attacking with his iron fists. Sounds of bones breaking and chilling screams followed. 3 punches later, both men can no longer stand up. As Gu Ming struggled to get up, Xiang Xiaolong pressed him against the ship's wall and landed 4 heavy blows to his abdomen. Gu Ming vomited a mouthful of fresh blood and sat down with his back against the ship's wall. His pain is indescribable. The cabin door swung open and was continued by Sister Ling's shriek. Except for Xiang Xiaolong, nobody else is able to stand up. Xiang Xiaolong casually clapped his hands and joked, "How are you, Sister Ling? Aren't you going to report me and get me fired?" Sister Ling's exquisite face has long been drained of any color and she is still unable to believe her own eyes. Her lips were shuddering and she is speechless at the same time. One of the family warriors managed to get on his knees but after puking a mouthful of blood, he fainted back onto the ground. With his piercing eyes shining a deathly aura, Xiang Xiaolong advanced towards Sister Ling. Sister Ling screamed and fled the scene. Xiang Xiaolong stretched his limbs and believed that it is time for him to leave this ship soon. Xiang Xiaolong is standing confidently in the center of the spacious main hall of the ship. Feng Fei is wearing her usual veil. Behind her stood little Pinger who is still dressed up as a boy. This is the first time Xiang Xiaolong laid his eyes on the second in command of the song and dance troupe, Dong Shuzhen. She is sitting beside Feng Fei and standing beside her is Sister Ling, who is still quivering with fear. Dong Shuzhen is around her 20s and extraordinary features lined her face. Her eyes sparkle like Christmas ornaments and are incredibly lively, betraying her intelligence. The head musician Yun Niang, Yun Liang previously, is present too. She is seated on the other side of Feng Fei. Presently in her middle age, she still retains much of her beauty and portrays a sense of maturity that is lacking in all the young lasses. She is as mesmerizing and alluring as the courtesans. Zhang Chuan is seated on the side with a joyful expression. S.A. Li has been summoned from the other ship to participate in this AA court session. He is seated opposite Zhang Chuan and his eyes are filled with hatred. He looked as if he wants to swallow Xiang Xiaolong whole. The 2 men and 3 ladies are seated like a fan, converging on the standing Xiang Xiaolong. Kun Shan and the other family warriors lined up 2 sides of the hall and the entrance of the hall. Although there are more than 20 people of them in the room, there was complete silence, adding to the stifling atmosphere. Gu Ming, Fu Yan, Wu Sun, Su Ran and the others have been properly bandaged. Weak and dejectedly looking, they sat on one side of the hall like a bunch of defeated cocks. They look amusing and yet pitiful at the same time. Dong Shuzhen started, "Shen Liang, what is going on? Since you joined our troop, there have been numerous incidents. Are you aware that our troop forbids dueling?" Her voice is sharp, clear, and full of energy. Her singing should be delightful to the ears. Xiang Xiaolong swept his gaze over the entire crowd and found everyone has their eyes on him. Only Feng Fei remains unfathomable. He grinned widely and deepened his voice, replying, "If you wish to know what has happened, why don't you ask Sister Ling instead? She is the mastermind and should know much more than me." S.A. Li interrupted furiously, "Shen Liang, who do you think you are? How dare you be so disrespectful? Kneel." Xiang Xiaolong's eyes lit up with iciness. He stared incessantly at S.A. Li but maintained his silence. The family warriors supporting S.A. Li began to turn boisterous and unruly. Feng Fei scolded, "Shut up! Everyone quietened down." Pressing his hand on his sword hilt, Xiang Xiaolong raised his head and laughed, "I'd rather be killed than to be insulted. A man's kneel is as valuable as gold." If you want me to kneel to crooks like S.A. Li, you might as well take my life first. S.A. Li stood up immediately and grabbed his sword handle. He grunted, then let me take your lowly life. Xiang Xiaolong was greatly amused. If you can withstand 10 strikes from me, I will kowtow 10 times to you. S.A. Li is angry beyond comprehension. His face turned from red to white and red again. However, he dare not draw his sword. Adding fuel to fire, Zhang Chuan egged, if Assistant Manager S.A. possesses excellent sword skills, I, Zhang Chuan, will like to witness it. Yun Niang, who has been silent all this while, sighed, you are all noisy and unruly. What is this troop coming to? How can you solve any issues arguing like this? S.A. Li took the opportunity to stand down. Boiling with rage, he returned to his seat. Feng Fei softly decided, very good. Now let us understand the whole situation first. Wu Sun, you are the head of the family warriors. Tell me what is going on. Wu Sun is a simple-minded person and is not good with words. He could not find the words to express himself and his face is beginning to turn red. Gu Ming intervened, this matter is started by Shen Liang. We brothers are just enjoying ourselves in the cabin when Shen Liang. Little Pinger called out in interruption, Miss, Feng Fei, is asking Wu Sun, who are you to speak up? A grievous Gu Ming swallowed the rest of his words. Wu Sun finally found his tongue and replied in an anxious tone, yes. Shen Liang barged into our cabin and began beating us up with no rhyme or reason. That is all. Zhang Chuan dismissed, how would he know that all of you are hiding in the cabin and enjoying yourself? Wu Sun is speechless once again. S.A. Li frantically countered, is General Manager trying to protect this criminal? It is obviously Shen Liang is the one attacking and injuring all these men. Looking at his disrespectful bearing, you should know he is the reckless perpetrator. Dong Shuzhen began to assess Xiang Xiaolong. She frowned, everyone keep quiet for now. Turning to Xiang Xiaolong, she questioned, Shen Liang, what do you have to say for yourself? Xiang Xiaolong will definitely not offer an explanation. He behaved like he cannot be bothered and shrugged his shoulders, I have nothing to add. Second mistress just have to say it and I will leave the troop, concluding this matter. Zhang Quan's face changed color, how can you leave without explaining yourself? Xiang Xiaolong shot him a cold glare and snorted, Master Zhang is having ulterior motives in hiring me. Now that I have understood your malicious intentions, I will never allow myself to be used by you. What is the point of staying here? Zhang Chuan is considerably infuriated that even the green veins on his forehead are protruding. In that moment, his guilty conscience held his tongue. Sister Ling frostily reprimanded, you insolent slave, you have injured so many men and there is no way we will let you leave like that. Dong Shuzhen cut her sentence, little Ling, zip it. Sister Ling has always enjoyed Dong Shuzhen's affections and is seldom publicly admonished like the present situation. She began to tremble with fear and dared not speak any more. Xiang Xiaolong is initially humored and nonchalant, awaiting the decision to chase him out of the song and dance troupe. He purposely pushed the decision into Dong Shuzhen's authority because he assumed she would shield her own personal serving maid. When he heard her telling off Sister Ling, he began to worry. The ship's main hall is filled with total quietness except for Zhang Chuan and S.A. Li's heavy breathing. Dong Shuzhen firstly looked at the amazing soundless Feng Fei and schemed everyone in the room. Finally laying her eyes on Xiang Xiaolong once again, she frowned slightly and lectured, it is no longer the issue of the fighting but Shen Liang's bad attitude and lack of respect for others. Pausing a while, she continued, you are an extraordinary man but we are just a simple song and dance troupe, I am afraid we cannot accommodate your talents here, therefore. Xiang Xiaolong is about to send his thankful prayers to heaven when Feng Fei suddenly spoke up, hold it. Everybody turned their attention to her in awe. Xiang Xiaolong's mind became agitated. If Feng Fei identified him, his life will turn into hell. He deliberately changed his voice, posture, and with his new appearance, on top of their one and only meeting, by right he should be able to evade her detection. Under the scrutiny of every eye in the hall, Feng Fei softly sighed, who can imagine that there will be so many issues even in a small troop such as ours. The fault does not lie with Shen Liang but with the management. I have been very tolerant so far but things are really getting out of hand. I will no longer sit back and do nothing. Xiang Xiaolong was consoled that his cover is not blown. Concurrently, he knows that things are not going according to his plans. If he is not dismissed, is he going to Qi instead? Zhang Chuan, S.A. Li, and Sister Ling's face lost color upon hearing her words. Dong Shuzhen is feeling uneasy too. She can feel Feng Fei's words are aimed at her as well. Feng Fei judged, Shen Liang, you can continue to be my driver with a peace of mind. If anyone were to make trouble for you, you can report to me directly. Xiang Xiaolong was stunned beyond words. He wished he could start crying at the failure of his escape plan. If he insisted on leaving, doubts will be raised. Zhang Chuan, who mistook him for the real Shen Liang, now hates him to the core. He may even plot against himself or have misgivings about his identity. He can only salute and give his thanks. Feng Fei is now facing Zhang Chuan and S.A. Li. She gracefully took down her veil, revealed crystal-sharp features that can rival Ji Yanran and Qin Qing. However, her two eyes are frosty and her expression is one of displeasure. Zhang Chuan was terrified and he hastily kneeled down, kowtowing, I know I am wrong. I know I am wrong. S.A. Li is still banking on Dong Shuzhen's influence and tried to wriggle his way out. He argued, Mistress, I wasn't on this ship when the incident happened. Sister Ling shrieked, how dare you talk back like this? An annoyed Dong Shuzhen commanded, Little Ling, kneel. From today onwards, you need not serve me anymore. Sister Ling petite frame was shaking uncontrollably. She broke down crying. S.A. Li finally came to his senses and kneeled down too, kowtowing non-stop. Feng Fei plainly state, at the next stop, S.A. Li you better scram. Go as far as your legs can take you. Otherwise, don't blame me for being heartless. Turning to Zhang Chuan, she announced, taking into consideration all the years you have been with me, and taking into account you realized your mistake, I will only demote you to assistant manager. Yu Niang will now control all the finances. Gu Ming and his partners in crime will all be fined a month's salary. Anyone who opposes will be fired on the spot. Finishing, she ignored S.A. Li's pleas and rose, leaving the hall. Even Dong Shuzhen was horrified and kneeling on the ground. Xiang Xiaolong has no choice but to kneel down as well. In his mind, he was contemplating to join S.A. Li in AA going as far as his legs can take him. Feng Fei's astute judgment and insight is something he definitely did not anticipate.